Ooh, that looks tasty. Hey babe, can you run out to the market and pick a few things up? We could use some milk, some cheese. See if there's any really good looking produce out there we can grab. And, if you could pick up a couple of those fancy, swanky new alien crystals that are being hawked out there, that would just be fantastic. And get a blue one if you can. Those are my favorite.
Welcome folks, today the Hungry Gamer is back with another Kickstarter preview. And today we are talking about Merchants of Qultah, designed by David Gendra, with art by Lena Kirschenhofer, and I do hope that I pronounced that correctly. Now, before I go any further, please make sure you turn on your Klingon subtitles, because if I make a mistake, that is where you'll find the corrections. Also, I do need to note that this is a prototype, so everything is subject to change, and in fact, it doesn't even have a box yet. So, you get the idea. Now, Merchants of Qultah is a dice placement bidding game in which you represent a human who is going out to deal with all of these different aliens that have landed in Vienna. And kind of a fun twist, the aliens have landed and they're not trying to kill everybody, they just want our money. So, cool. Now, if you are not interested in how this game is played and just want to jump ahead to my final thoughts, then you're going to want to go to the timestamp on the screen right now, for those of us still here. So, the setup will vary depending on how many players you have, so I've just put out some random tiles. I will say that every game you'll have one of the two saboteurs. In this case we have Lena, the other is David. They do different things. And then you'll have your various alien merchants that you can deal with. You have your player aid, and then every player will have 6 dice of their color. And there'll be 1 extra because it is possible with some merchants to gain an extra die as you play through the game. So let me just pull aside the blues and, the greens and the reds so we can see how this game will be working. Then, in addition to that, you have all these different crystals. Crystals are your points, and that's what you're trying to get. A purple is worth 1, a green is worth 2, and a blue is worth 3. The game will be played over the course of 2 days, meaning each player will get to use all of their dice twice. And what you're doing is you'll be placing your dice out on these spaces on the side of the merchant tiles, and those are representing your best offers that you can make to them. You are negotiating with these merchants for their space crystals. And if you look at the center, you will see what the prize you will get at the end of the day if you are the one with dice still on there. So you'll take the crystals that they can offer you, and you will place them on the tiles on the side like so. And I'll say that all of these simply will give you a crystal of a different value. So this one here will give you a crystal, and you'll get to take away 1 die from another player at the start of the next round. And of course, this entire stack is different merchants that do different things. The only thing I'll note is up here, the saboteur is something that you can roll on pretty much when you don't have a good option here, and you're just going to try to take something away from the other player. So let's dive in and talk about how this game works. So when it is your turn, you are going to choose one of the merchants that you want to deal with. For the sake of argument, let's just say, right here, we're going to deal with the Fatalas. And we'll say red's going first. So red will choose 1 or 2 dice they want to roll. In this case, they have to choose 1 because there's only 1 space. So they would roll their die, and they got a 1. Now they have a choice. They can keep that offer, or they can try to improve it. If you want to improve it, you simply roll the die again. As long as you get a higher number, you can keep on rolling. If you get the same number or lower, you're stuck with it. So a 1, that's terrible. I can re-roll, but I got a 1 again. I'm stuck with a 1. Too bad, so sad. It would pass to the other player. And I'm going to talk about what these symbols on the bottom mean in just a second. The other player has a choice. They could try to take this from me if they wanted, or they could go somewhere else. Let's just say they want to take that. So they would roll, and they got a 3. But you know what? They don't really like a 3. That's not a great offer, so they're going to roll again. And look at that, they got a 4. They have a choice. They could keep rolling if they wanted, or they could stop here. We'll say they're going to stop here, which would take this offer. It gets discarded until next round, and now they are winning. And it would come back to the other player. Now let's just say they want to go for this one right there. And they're going to roll 2 dice. So they roll their 2, and they got a 2 and a 1. So that is a 2-point 1. That is their offer. This little comma here in the middle represents a decimal point. If you did not know this, a lot of Europe uses a comma instead of a decimal point. So that's what that is. But they're going to re-roll and do something different. And now they have a 4.3. Great bully for them. And so you see how that works. Now, where the game picks up is with these symbols here. If you look down here, you'll see there are different dice numbers, and they correlate with different symbols, different things that happen. So for example, right here, if I had rolled a 3, I would be able to add +1 to any other die that is out on the board. Any die, my die or another player's die, because that's what that symbol right there means. So I could suddenly make my own die right here a 6. Good for me. Or, just for sake of argument, if the red player had done that, rolled a 3, they could increase this die here and make it a 4.4. Now here's the thing, doubles are the best. A 1.1 is better than a 6.5. The only way to beat a 1.1 is, you guessed it, a 2.2. A 3.3 beats that, and so on. And each of these different merchants does something different with numbers. Like this one here, if you place a 4 over here, then you are able to swap any 2 dice on the board, though it does have to be amongst the same players. So suddenly I can do this, boink and boink. And now I have a 6.1 over here, and that's better because that's worth more. The other thing, and so that's kind of how most of those work, and you can see here all the different things that can happen on a turn. The only other thing I will point out is there's symbols like this, which mean at the end of every turn, you're going to re-roll any of your own dice. So at the end of my turn, I'm going to re-roll, say, this one. Well, that's a 2. I don't like that. I'm going to keep rolling. Well, now it's a 1. I'm stuck with that, and there it is. And I could have re-rolled these or whatever. And then there's also, at the beginning of your turn, something happens. So in this case, at the beginning, let's just say I had that. I only had 1 die on there. At the beginning of my turn, any one of my dice will get -1. So maybe I reduce this one down to a 2. Or maybe I reduce one of those. You get the idea. And so you'll play through your round, activating these abilities on these different merchants to manipulate your dice, to manipulate the other player's dice. Maybe you'll do something up here where you roll and say I roll a 5. Well, then I get to remove any die on the map. So you know what? Get out of here. I'm done with you. You go away. And then maybe in a later turn, I'll be able to then claim it. You see how that works. At the end of, once everyone has placed all their dice and all their dice have been kicked off, whatever's going to happen, whoever has dice remaining, they claim the abilities. So here, red would get this, and green would lose one of their dice to start the next round, so they'll only have 5 instead of 6. Green got this one, and this one, and this one, and red got this one, and then you would reclaim your dice and you would go. Now you also would have the option of replacing some of the merchants if you wanted. And there's no rhyme or reason to how you do that. It's just if you feel like it and want to see something different and kind of change up how the next round is going to be played. After the end of the second round, you simply count up who has the most points, and they are the winner. So that's it. That's how this game works. It is just that simple. So what do I like about this game? Well, first I'll say, I do like the art. It's not the most brilliant art I've ever seen, but I enjoy it. And there's some of them in here, I'm not gonna dig them out, but like this guy here, he's adorable. He's definitely my wife's favorite, and they should totally make a plushie out of him. And what kind of makes it pop is, and I wouldn't know this because I've never been to Vienna, but all these backgrounds are different locations in Vienna. So there's little kind of Easter eggs that are out there. And so I enjoy that. I think that's fun. I think the art is good enough, and it kind of goes along with whatever's happening down here, that you can kind of start telling the story of each of these different races, what they're like. For example, I know that this guy here, he hates 6s. If you ever have a 6, he says, get it out of there. So if someone makes your dice tick up to a 6, suddenly it goes off of him, and he's open for business again. And so there's kind of fun things like, well, why don't they like 6s? What is it about their race, their society, their culture? And you kind of get to start telling those stories. And I do know that they also do have some backstory for each of these different races, so that is fun. also. I like the simplicity of the game. It's not hard to learn, it's not hard to play, and it goes pretty darn quickly. But at the same time, even though it's not hard to play and there's not a lot going on, these different action spaces, these powers, whatever you want to call them on the bottom of the tiles, really makes the game sing, because it really matters where you place a die, and it really matters that what you're rolling, because you know what, maybe here I wound up with a 6. Oh, that'd be great, but really I was trying to get a 1 because I needed to re-roll something else, or maybe I was trying to get a 4 so I could reduce one of theirs. Maybe they have a 6/6 over here. Wasn't nothing I can do about that, but I could, if I got a 4 here, great, then I can make this die over here a 5/6, and now I have a chance to take it. So you see what I'm saying? And all of these different tiles, and there's so many of them, are different. So that is a lot of fun. And I also really enjoy the way they've done the numbers, where this is a 4.6. Now, I don't know the math. Maybe it doesn't change anything, but I feel like by having the 4 point whatever, you have a better opportunity to take what they're doing and beat them, because there's no, oh, I got a 6, you can't get rid of me. No, I only can't get rid of you if you have a 6.6. And so if you had just had a 6 here, and I rolled a 6.1, well, you can get right out of here. Now, I don't know how the math works. Maybe that's not accurate, but it feels accurate. It feels more fun that way. And I always appreciate a game that rewards doubles. Everyone loves doubles. They're fun. They should be more powerful. So what are my quibbles about the game? And well, the first one is, this game can get pretty darn cutthroat while you play, especially when you play in a larger group. You can start to feel like they're ganging up on you. If you jump out to a lead, they're going to come after you, and they are going to try to get rid of your dice as much as they can. So it's pretty cutthroat. And if you don't like cutthroat, if you don't like the fact that I can have this great roll here, I got my boxcars early on, and someone can say, oh, you know, I'm gonna go over here and use the saboteur, and oops, look at that, I got rid of your dice. If that's gonna bother you, this might not be a game for you. I'll say this is not the most cutthroat game I've ever played. It's not hugely take that, but it is there. It is in there, which I guess makes sense because it's about negotiation, right? And then the other two things I'll say, one I've already alluded to, and actually I know they're gonna change it to something a little more innocuous, is I suspect some people might be confused by the comma there, because here in North America and the UK, at least I think the UK also, that would be a decimal point. That's not the case where the designer's from, so my understanding is he's going to change it to something that just separates the two. That's just a little more innocuous and set up for this world, so that potential confusion doesn't happen. But my other one is, I kind of wish that the merchants themselves, the human merchants, were represented. I wish I had a little player board, and this could be in the middle, and on one side I had some art maybe of a character, on the other side maybe just a tiny simple little power, a little asynchronous power that you could use that makes it feel part of your strategy. And I'm not talking huge, I mean something along the lines of, once per game, if you roll a number and then you re-roll and get the exact same number, you can re-roll one more time. Or I don't know, just something very, very simple. I think that could be fun and add a lot of extra replay to the game. But really, that's it, folks. If you like dice placement games and you like bidding games, then this is going to be a good option. I think this game is fun. I enjoyed playing it at 2 players with my wife, and I got to play it on Tabletop Simulator a few times with the designers in 3-player games, and I enjoyed it. It was a fun, quick little game. And especially if you don't mind that little bit of cutthroatness that comes with it. And more to the point, this is a fun little game that I don't anticipate being that expensive, because at the end of the day, there's tiles, there's 6-sided dice, and there are some crystals. That's all you have. So there's not a ton of stuff going on here that's going to drive up the price. So I think it's affordable. I think it has some fun mechanics that I haven't played before. I haven't played a game that does bidding exactly like that. And so if you're into that, you definitely are going to want to check this one out. Now, as always, if I've made any mistakes with the rules explanation, please let me know in the comments with the timestamp so I can get that into the Klingon subtitles. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, share. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.